Hi, this is Esther with Discover Your Origins. This is a Research with Me video, and we are returning to the Essary family. In the last video, we worked on Mattie Elizabeth Essary, and we did a little bit of cleanup work. I did make a decision and go ahead and select Elizabeth as her middle name. It could be wrong, and if her descendants know better, they can come and correct it. But where there was a choice, I chose Elizabeth. And so if she did have a second middle name or it was not Elizabeth, they can come and fix that. But it seemed to indicate in the records that was her middle name. I also corrected Mattie Elizabeth's death date. She actually died 2 days previously than what was on Family Search, and so we have the 9th of August, 1957. And you can see here I've got Ancestry and Family Search side by side. In the previous video, I looked briefly at Mattie's husband, Robert J. Campbell, or Robert Jackson Campbell, and I noticed that he didn't really have parents, or at least only one parent in Family Search, and I usually like to at least connect a spouse to their parents when I'm doing descendancy research. I may not look at any of the other relations for the spouse, but I like to at least connect them to their parents. And so when I looked at Robert Jackson Campbell on Family Search, I see that he's attached to a father. So I want to review the sources attached to Robert Jackson and see if there's any evidence for this father, and also use Ancestry to also review the sources and see if that's correct. And I did look on Ancestry to see if there were any hints for his parents. And so we're going to take a look at that and see what we can see. And if also we will look and make sure all of his vital data is correct as well. So let's jump in. Now, one thing I'm going to note here, again, his quality score is high. A high quality score does not mean correct, as we saw with Mattie Elizabeth. There were some things that weren't quite right. So do not assume that high equals correct. You still need to do the homework and make sure and check all the sources and everything to make sure that you're on the right track. High does imply that there is good data quality, but it implies that the indexed information from a record matches the profile data. So sometimes you need to put context into those records to really understand what the correct information is. So just that little caveat there. Be careful of those quality scores on Family Search. All right, so I'm on Robert Jackson Campbell on Family Search. Let's jump over to Ancestry as well. And we have 6 record hints, and then we've got some potential parents here. So we're going to take a look. Now, one thing I'm noticing is that he was born in 1877. So he would have only been in one, probably only one, census record with his parents. And that would be the 1880 US Census, and he would be a child. So any other records that we have for him, we would need to look and see if they also say his parents. So that could be a death record, so a death certificate could name his parents. That does depend on who the informant is. And anything else that may mention his parents, like an obituary or maybe find a grave memorial, something like that, we'll need to look at. If his father died and left a probate or a will where he was mentioned, that could be a possibility as well. So we need to look at that. Now he does have 13 sources on Family Search, so we'll need to just briefly look over those. And here we have a potential father, Joseph W. Campbell, and a mother, Martha Elizabeth Estes. So we do need to look at those and see if maybe those are the correct parents. And we have a William Campbell. So we may be on the right track. And if I had to guess, in Family Search, Joseph W. Campbell and Martha Estes probably already exist. And so we just need to connect them together, merge a duplicate, that kind of thing. So stay tuned. We're going to see if we can figure that out. But let's start looking at some sources. I've got 6 record hints here, but let's expand the Family Search page and take a closer look at what we have here. So we've got a birth on the 8th of February, 1877. Let's just look and see. Okay, his birth seems to vary quite a bit. And let's see, we've got October 1875. His draft card says October 1873, and his Find a Grave memorial says 1877, and his Alabama death record says 1874. And unfortunately, I can't go and look at the actual death certificate because those are images that have to be viewed at a family history center, and I'm not there right now. But that's where his father is named William Campbell, and I bet the mother's name probably says don't know or is blank. But his birth year estimate is 1874. And we've got his death here. The event place is Barry Fayette, not Samantha. So once again, we have probably the death location based off Find a Grave. I'm going to update this right now to Barry. The death certificate is going to be a bit more reliable than Find a Grave. So, and then this, the birthplace. So the draft card is going to be something that Robert Jackson filled out himself. Now, he would not know when he was born. He would have been told when he was born. But you would think that if anybody's going to know, it's going to be the mother or whoever attended the birth. And then over time, you know, the person is told you were born this time and that they would know. 15th of October, 1873, which seems to correlate with the death certificate birth year of 1874. It's relatively close, and so that seems pretty good. So I think I will update the birth location or birth date as well. This does not give a birth location, so we'll have to kind of look at some other things for that. So let's update the birth date, 15th of October, 1873. Okay, so right away we've already updated some things. I do want to look at census records. So we should have, okay, 1900 census, and I think he's married. Yes, he's married at this point, 25 years old. October 1875, that it's within range of the 1873 date, so I'm not going to be too upset about that. And then October, so that seems to align. And it does say he was born in Alabama. So that may be as close as we get to his birth location, unless it says somewhere else on another record. We've got a new Redent file. That is probably going to be for one of his children. Let's keep going here. 1910. And we did notice that he worked as a merchant in the 1930 census, but earlier ones he was a farmer. And then here's the Find a Grave memorial. We should go and look at that. Okay, so we've got the image here. It does say 1877. Again, we noticed that there was some inaccuracies with Mattie as well. So I'm not, it's hard to say whether these markers were added at a later date or not. I don't really know. And we've got children. Okay. All right, the death information, again, we've got a couple of record hints here. This one, Robert Jackson Campbell. We did already look at a World War I one. Okay, so this is just a duplicate for whatever reason. Robert Jackson Grubbs would not be a match. It does have the exact same birth date. Let's look at this. How interesting. He has the exact same birthday as our Robert Jackson in the same county where the family was known to have lived. How interesting. And Robert Jackson, but just a different last name. Okay. We're going to say this is not a match, and we'll say the names do not match. Okay. We'll dismiss that one. And that one's just a duplicate. We can attach that later. All right. So now let's go over to Ancestry and we'll look at the hints there. And we'll just review very quickly. Interesting. Board of Trustees for the University of Nashville. Okay, Find a Grave Memorial, 1880 census. Okay, there he is with parents, possibly. So we're going to take a look at that. We'll just scroll through these and then we'll go back. Newspaper. Death index. Okay, so here's that 1880 census that I was hoping we could find, and we'll see if it matches. Okay, we've got a Joseph Campbell Elizabeth, 52. That's quite an age disparity, 52 and 27. He could be, Joseph Campbell could be the father of Elizabeth. He could be the husband. And then we've got a Robert, an Andrew, and a David, and then Elizabeth Taylor as a boarder. I'm not sure if that's a match. Born in Tennessee and Georgia. Okay. Not really sure on that. Okay, the hinting isn't working from clicking on the potential parents here, so I'm just going to do a search in Ancestry and see if I can't see somebody else's tree. All right, here we go. Robert Jackson. Okay, so we'll go and look at this tree. All right, so 1880, so they've connected that 1880 census where there is that age disparity. Okay, so yeah, it says he was born in 1825. Okay, so he must have had a previous wife, Emmeline, had several children, and then married a second time to Martha Elizabeth Estes and had 4 more children. Here's a will and probate. Let's see. Oh, it does mention a Robert Campbell in the estate paperwork. So let's go and look at it. Okay, in the matter of Joseph W. Campbell, deceased. An interest in 80 acres of land. George W. Campbell of Lonoke, Arkansas. Joseph T. Campbell, Dallas, Texas. Goldie Piles of Blum, Texas, wife of Piles. Andrew Campbell and David Campbell of Scottsboro. Robert of Marshall County, Alabama. Okay. So what was the date on this? 1902. Okay. So let's go back. It might be easier to just have family search up. Where is Robert Campbell living in 1900? So let's take a look. He's in Tallapoosa, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. That's pretty close. All right, let's see. Are there any other papers? Because there would be a whole file. Let's see. Okay. Robert Campbell. Jackson County Estate Case File. Jackson County, Alabama. All right. Okay, Joseph W. Campbell, deceased. Robert Estes. So the Estes family and Joseph Campbell are definitely connected. It seems to fit. It seems to match what they're saying. Let's see. We looked at probate paperwork. We've got a marriage record here. Okay, that's marriage to Emmeline. Alabama marriage index to Martha in Jackson County. Okay, that's an index. Here's the Alabama marriage record. Joseph to Martha. So the age difference would be explained by it being a second marriage. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and put them together. So this is how we're going to do it. So this William Campbell was created because of a death record where William Campbell was listed as his father. So we're just going to edit this and hopefully it brings up a duplicate. We know he was deceased before March of 1902. Okay, so I'm not sure of the exact date. Alabama did not have death certificates yet in 1902, so we may have to rely on an obituary if we can find it in the newspaper or something. So as far as adding him to family search, like I said, he's probably in there, but I'm going to say before 1902 in Alabama. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go back. And I admit I am copying someone else's tree a little bit. I am looking at the records though to make sure that they match up. Okay, so now we're going to add Martha Elizabeth Estes. I might be creating a duplicate here, but we'll fix that if that's the case. In Georgia, that does match with the 1880 census, the birth location. 2nd of October, 1934, Jackson County. Okay. And sure enough, there they are. Okay, so we'll add that. So I do have some duplicates here to clean up. So let's take care of that. So let's come in here. Oh, it looks like we need to update Martha's information on her account. So let's do that first. Okay, so this person says they have a Civil War pension for him from 25th of August, 1880. Oh, interesting. Okay, so the other profile does have more records, so I'm just going to rely on that information before we do anything else. If there is a Civil War pension for this individual, it's not been attached. We'll have to look at it. The new merge that Family Search is coming out with, they do want you to explain if there's any differences, so that's what I'll do now. Okay, so Joseph William Campbell needs a lot more research. We need to go find that Civil War pension record if it exists. That probably has his death date and place and everything. So my goal was to connect Robert Jackson to his parents. So that's what I've done here. You can see there are two Roberts, so we're going to merge those together as well. So to do that, I'm going to just click on the ID of the one that I want to go away. So I'm going to just click on that. You can see it says ID copied. So now I'm going to go over to Robert Jackson and we will merge him with the other one. There we go. So the one on the left is the one that I'm going to make go away. It doesn't really have a whole lot. It's got the 1880 US Census. That's it. And that's going to get moved over. Everything else is from the profile that we had. There's not any data inconsistencies, so we'll merge it together. And there should be no more duplicates there. And Robert Jackson is now connected to his parents. And you'll notice we've got siblings now for him and his parents. And, you know, like I said, there's probably still some more work that could be done, but we've cleaned up a little bit of Family Search. So on my ancestry tree, I'm going to attach all of the record hints and go through and update all of the dates and information that I have on him so that it aligns with family search here a little bit better. And then we will look at somebody else. Mattie and Robert had 10 children, and so I will need to work on the descendancy for all of those children at some point, but I will start running into people who are living, and so I probably will not show that on camera. So next time we will look at Mattie's sibling, and that will probably be this Willie C. Essary, and we'll see what we can find on him. So until next time, we'll see you later.